Okay, this is my video submission for the patient case for the pre-participation physical exam in Gen Med. So our first concern with this child who just came in for his physical is his high blood pressure. And really what we're worried about there, like long term, is his risk of like cardiovascular disease. And like right now he's just predisposed. There's not a ton of like quote danger, but like if this continues, then like every year, every decade that goes by, the risk for that CV disease just goes higher and higher and higher. So like if we can get on top of it right now, we'll live a long healthy life and we won't have to worry about it. But essentially there's a couple things we can do to kind of get that number down. One of the big things is just lose weight. There are also some foods out there that'll help bring blood pressure down to help prevent this. There is a diet out there called the DASH diet, which, again, before we do any of this, obviously consult our doctor, make sure it's okay for us to do this and we're not going to cause harm that we don't need to do, and there are other options out there. The DASH diet is the big one though. And, doing that, getting on that diet, getting those anti-inflammatory foods in us, and then also losing the weight just to reduce that blood pressure will just help us in like long-term preventing our risk of heart disease. So the next strategy, if I can read. So long-term obesity, essentially like the issue with long-term obesity is like we're predisposed to things like diabetes. Once again, heart disease is up there again, high blood pressure, these things that just aren't great for us. So for obesity, long-term obesity, the longer you're obese, the harder it is to like get out of it, essentially. So doing it now while we're young, we're in school sports, we have reasons to be active, we're not, which is, it's a good thing, it's a good thing for us to take advantage of with this guy. So getting him, again, we've already talked about a HASH diet, getting him in to see a nutritionist, find out like exactly how many calories he needs to like be okay and be healthy and be happy essentially, but also know the number that it takes to kind of like get our weight down. And like, again, being obese is just like, as we get older, that quality of life is just going to tank. When he gets older, he won't be able to do the things he might want to do. And if we can get on top of that now, he'll be able to do the things he wants to do. And again, live a happy, healthy life and won't have to worry about these things so much. So again, diet and exercise for long-term obesity is the best thing we can do right now. So just making sure he's eating well, in that caloric deficit. In football season, we're not too worried about that deficit. We just want to be at a maintenance because he will still lose weight just because of the amount of exercise he's doing. But once football's over, that's when we really want to get after it. So that way next year when he comes into football, or if he does any other sports, he'll be in better shape, he'll feel better, he'll just be a better athlete, from the athletic side of things. No. Sorry, I just spilled my water. And then as for arthritis, our last concern for this patient, carrying excess weight puts a lot of stress on our joints. And while we're young, that doesn't make a huge deal. While we're in our early teens, maybe even early 20s, we don't really feel the effects of that. But as we get older, late 20s, early 30s, 40s, 50s, all that stress on our joints adds up. So being able to, again, this goes back to that DASH diet, those anti-inflammatory foods, reducing the inflammation in our joints from this excess weight we're carrying around will help reduce, our risk of arthritis, essentially. And also losing weight with, our caloric deficit, eating well, making sure we're getting, adequate nutrients, vitamins, minerals, macros, getting those in our body. We're feeling good, we're playing good, and we're still losing this weight. The more we do that, the healthier our joints will be because there's less inflammation in the joints and there's less pressure on the joints just from our overall body weight. Another standpoint on arthritis is we need to be strong muscularly, not just not heavy, And so to do that, like weightlifting or, I mean, sports, being active in general is super important to keep our muscles and our tendons on a load. So that way it's not just our joints holding onto the weight. Our muscles can take some of the load. Our tendons can take some of the load. Our ligaments can take some of the load. So it just spreading that load out just helps tremendously in trying to prevent arthritis, rather than just, weak muscles relying on the joint, which is the strongest part of the chain, to support all of this mass. And if we can, again, increase the muscle mass, we can decrease the stress on the joints. And doing that along with decreasing the inflammation in the joints and decreasing weight on the joints will help reduce the risk of arthritis later in his life.